When working with visual coding, you will from time to time need to use variables. A variable is a place where you can store a value and then later use that value. In Aquro, there are two kinds of variables, global and private. A private variable lives inside a visual coding script and can be used as a value to any visual coding block argument within that same script. If, however, you need a variable to be able to be accessed by other scripts or other parts of your app, you'll want to use global variables. Global variables are available throughout your entire app and can be useful when two or more scripts need to share information. Let's start by using an example of a private variable. I'm going to use the numeric add coding block to add two numbers together. To start off, I'm going to open the configuration window for this block and assign two numerical values to each of the arguments on the left. Now we have one output result, which is the sum of both numbers. We want to store this value and use it later on in our script, so we need to add a new variable. First, I'll need to choose which kind of variable I would like to create: a value, a data object, or a component reference. Value variables can store any number or text value. A data object variable can store one instance of data from a data collection, and a component reference variable will point to a UI component on your page. As you can see, the different types of variables you can create are color-coded as with other things in the configuration window for visual coding blocks. In this example, we can see that the result value is color-coded in green, and the value variable is green as well, so I'll choose a value variable. I can pick any name and just hit add to create the variable. Now, to store the result of the coding block into this variable, I'll simply drag the results output value from the right side of the coding block to the variable I just created. Once the variable has been created, I can use it later on in my script just as any other value. Let's use the message toast block to display the value in a message to the user. To accomplish this, I'm going to first drag in a message toast block, connect it to a previous block, and you'll see that the private variable we just created is now listed in the value list on the left, and we can map it to the message. Let's exit out of this visual coding script, save our page, and test our button. You'll see that the sum of the two values we put in is now displayed as a message to the user when the button is clicked that the visual coding script is written for. Let's talk a little bit about global variables. Global variables, as we mentioned earlier, are a way to share values between different visual coding scripts. Let's say we would like to store the sum of two values from our previous example, but be able to use that sum later on in another visual coding script. To store a global variable, I'll need to use the variable global set coding block. First, you'll need to name the variable something. I use global sum as the name, but you can call it whatever you'd like. Then I'll need to specify the value that I would like to store in this global variable. I'll use my existing local variable that already contains the sum of the two numbers. Now, you may have noticed that I had two buttons on the page we were working on. Let's say we want the second button to grab this global variable from the first script we wrote for button number 1. Let's go ahead and select that component, then edit its click event to enter visual coding. Scripts can only work directly with a private variable, so we'll first need to read our global variable into a workable private one. We'll accomplish this with the variable global get coding block. I'll set global sum as the name of the global variable I would like to read, and then I'll map the value of this global variable to a new private variable I create called sum. Now, once again, I can use the message toast coding block to simply show the value of this new private sum variable that I've added to our script, which is grabbing that value from our global variable. When I click button 1, our two values are added together just like before. Now, however, instead of displaying a message, that sum is saved to a global variable because we rerouted the numeric add block to the global variable set block instead of going to a toast message block. When we press button 2, our second script is executed, which takes that global variable, brings it into a private variable so that the script can use it, and then displays the sum in a message. Using variables is an essential part of visual coding because you'll often need to pass values between different coding blocks to be able to build more advanced scripts, and you'll also often need to store these global variables so that you can pass the values between different scripts and use them in different components as you work on your app. Hopefully, this has given you a better understanding of using variables in Aquro's visual coding. And of course, if you have more questions, we're always here to answer them for you.